We appreciate that. We appreciate you being here. And thank you all. Thank you all for sharing today. And self-inquiry, who am I? Session 7, be your blissful self. We have been waiting for this. So this is awesome. And as Mr. Sehra noted, there will be some people joining. And if for some reason you become unmuted, please mute yourself. I'd like to start with a prayer, all right? To start. And we start with this: bow your heads, close your eyes, please. Go to your hearts. Feel the energy in your heart. Feel that strong energy that you have coming from the heart. Feel the essence of that vibration of the heart. And we say, dear Creator, you bless our hearts with love, joy, peace, happiness, and most importantly, calm. We ask your grace and blessing here today to hear and contemplate the Blissful Self Part 7. Dear Creator, we ask that you bless all present here in this Zoom, that we feel the vibration of the Zoom. May we feel all that sensation and connection of all. Dear Creator, we request to give all here the blessings of resilient health and the knowledge to create peace within ourselves and share with others. May we all feel energized. May we show love, peace, kindness to others as ourselves. May we all feel love, peace, and kindness. Creator, with gratitude, we feel your blessing and we bless each other. We send this prayer out into the divine universe. And so it is. We are grateful for Mr. Arun Sehra for his time and willingness to share with gratitude. With gratitude.
Thank you, Reverend Manning. And also, greetings, Reverend Julian, Reverend Neil. Nice to see you here, all of you here. And we'll get started with this session. Your words were very divine, I would say this thing, as you said that it creates vibration in our hearts. So we love those kind of words. And those are the words which really bring ultimately peace, and you can call it, realization to us. So, okay, we are going to start with this session. And as you can say, this is about self-inquiry, who am I? And this is 7th session. And by the way, who am I is the most profound inquiry in the entire philosophy. Are 7 sessions too many sessions? Not at all. In fact, this is something which never becomes stale. You can say this thing, that all this repetition, when we are keep on doing it, it's always fresh, completely fresh. It's like you look at a sunrise or sunset. Every day you look at sunrise or sunset. It looks like it's a repetition, but it is not a repetition at all. It's completely fresh. And each time you look at sunrise or sunset, you get a very special feeling within your own self. And it's a feeling of wonder, a feeling of discovery. That's what it happens when you listen to this, who am I? So we'll continue with this one, and you will find it's not boring at all. It's not monotonous. It should really create a feeling of wonder in our heart. It should implant a seed in our heart that should show us the path to ultimate reality, path to eternal happiness. And that is a discovery, and we are all on that same path, on the same journey. And I'm going to share with you some of that journey today. By the way, I have a couple of other introductory remarks. Number one thing, it's a joint presentation between Rosemary Shea and myself. And you'll be thrilled with some of the work which Rosemary has done, some of the creative artwork, which you might not have seen, but you will truly enjoy it. And second thing I want to mention is this is an interactive session. Interactive really means this thing that if there is a question for clarification, please stop me and get the clarification then only. Right away, get the clarification. This is not a session in which we want to have a discussion, because discussion really is quite counterproductive for this kind of session. So please make sure that all your questions should be for clarification only. You may not agree or disagree, that's perfectly fine. In fact, when you are listening to it, don't agree or disagree right away. If I say world is not real, don't agree or disagree with it. Just think over it. But if you want a clarification about a word or a particular element, particular message, please stop me right away. Okay, with this one, we will really start our what you call as inquiry. I'll start with the agenda. And is there any question? If there is no question, we'll get started. So I'm going to really start first. We want to talk about why do I want to do self-inquiry? The reason is when I talk to some people around, they say they already know about the self. They don't need to make self-inquiry. They only want to know about others. They all the time are watching others. They are watching the minds of others, but they don't watch their own mind. So self-inquiry has a very great significance. And that's why we want to really talk about why self-inquiry. There is some reason that all these philosophers are working on self-inquiry. Great philosophers. I'm talking about, you are talking about 10,000 years back, 5,000 years back. Philosophers have focused on self-inquiry. Only thing is we have to understand this self is the true self. We are not talking about what it appears to be, what one thinks to be, because most people think that they know about the self, which they do not know. Then I'm going to give you a glimpse this time, glimpse of the self. You can call it a glimpse, so that you can realize that there is something, some element, some feeling, which is changeless feeling. And that is what is a glimpse. There are some moments where you really feel you are on the top of the world. That gives you a glimpse, that gives you a clue, you can say, a signal, a pointer, which really tells you this thing that you are different from what you think. You are really not limited as you think. You are not one who has got worries, who has got desire. You start realizing you are beyond all those. That is what you say, you are transcendental. You transcend the body and the mind. And then we will talk about the gist of this particular presentation, which is the journey. It's a spiritual journey. It's an inner journey, And I'm going to really go through this journey in number of steps. The first stage of the journey is known as preparation. And preparation is extremely important. That is the main effort, you can call it. It can take many, many years. It can take many lives also. That is what is a preparation. And if you are prepared, by the way, the life becomes very much joyful. You really become calm in life. You are able to handle adverse situation much easier. And in fact, to tell you the truth, that Buddha mainly focused on preparation. Bhagavad Gita, another, you can say scripture that also focuses quite a bit on preparation. So preparation is the very important element. But we want to go even beyond preparation. After preparation means once you are prepared, then you are ready for inquiry. This is what I mean, self-inquiry, not inquiry. And I'm going to talk about how to do inquiry, how to conduct inquiry. And I'll also talk about certain techniques, certain type of methods which are used for conducting inquiry. And finally, we'll go to the last stage, which you can call as the final frontier, which is realization. Realization is a feeling. It's a different type of feeling. It's a feeling that I'm joyful all the time. I'm joyful even under adverse conditions also. Things are going bad, I'm still joyful. A person is having cancer and is still joyful. Can we remain joyful when one has cancer? Yes, one can. And there are examples in the world where people have been joyful under all conditions. This joy, by the way, is not enjoy. There is a difference between joy and enjoy. Joy is a feeling of peace. It's a feeling of being satisfied. It's a feeling of being complete. It is not a feeling that you jump with joy. It is not jumping with joy. When you jump with joy, that is known as enjoyment. And enjoyment always comes from outside. The joy comes from within. So we have to really know those subtle type of differences. These are known as nuances. We have to know those nuances. And if we have time, we will really finish with a guided meditation. My goal is to really take 1 hour and 10 minutes for the front part, and remaining last 20 minutes, we'll do guided meditation. And I'm expecting that if you have any question, you'll stop me in between, and we will really try to clarify that particular question. I'll try my best to give an answer as good as I can. If we cannot complete this presentation in 1 hour, 10 minutes, then what we'll do is that we will really do rest of it after about 2 or 3 months from now. We'll continue it, this journey, you can call it the journey. We are on that journey, the spiritual journey. And our focus should be on journey, not on goal, by the way. The final frontier is the realization, which is the ultimate goal, but we should be focusing on the journey itself. If I want to reach the top of a mountain where I can see a flickering light, I don't keep on looking at that light. I have to look on the ground. Otherwise, I'll fall into a pit somewhere. So basically, our focus should be on journey. That is preparation, first stage, and then start making inquiry. And let's talk about these things one by one. And we'll start now with self-inquiry. I think all of you can see this picture. This is Socrates, which was about 2,500 years or maybe more than that back. And a Greek philosopher, he asserted, he was a realized individual, by the way, enlightened, you can call it, the one who can see the light, or you can call it Buddha. Buddha means one who is awakened, who had woken up from this dream, from this waking dream. One who has woken up is known as Buddha. And he said, if you want to be eternally happy, find out who you really are. Not just who you are, who you really are. Now, this seems to be a highly baffling assertion. When I talk to somebody, a person says, how can I be happy, eternally happy, by merely knowing who I really am? Very confusing for an individual, you know. The person says, I feel very limited. I feel I hardly have in control over things. I'm worried about my own health. I'm worried about my family's health. I'm worried about finances. I'm worried about my near and dear ones. And I have a lot of other worries also. Professional worries I have got family worries I have got. And I find I cannot do many things. I cannot lift a very big weight and all that. And you are saying this thing that I will be happy. How can I be happy? So this is why a person is confused about it. Most people really think they know about themselves. In fact, they hardly know anything about themselves. They only know what you call as superficially, what appears to be there. That's all they know, not beyond it. Now, we'll continue with this one. Many millenniums before Socrates, I'm saying, in an ancient philosophical text, which we call as Vedanta, part of Vedas, the end of Veda, Anta really means end, Vedanta really means end of Vedas. The same question was asked by a young man who was like 24 years old. His name was Shvataketu, which I've shown in bracket. And he asked his father, who was enlightened. Father was the one who was a realized individual, whose name is, I have given also Udalka, just that if you want to really go back and look for it. And he asked the same question about it. And the reply which he got was very baffling reply, by the way. He was told that you really are the supreme self. It's very baffling to say this means that you are God. Now, this is what you have to realize, that thou art. Tattvamasi, that is the Sanskrit words I'm speaking. He said, you really are the Supreme Self. You are God yourself. Extremely baffling, even more baffling answer. But let's try to really study this a little bit more. Now, Vedanta really, philosophy further asserts that you can realize means feel. You can feel that you are not different from God. You can feel it. When we talk about godliness, you can feel that godliness in you. You can feel it. And I'm just going to quote Bible now. And if you are feeling love for one and all, I'm saying just one and all means all, not only living being, but non-living being also. If you are feeling love for one and all, then you are no different from God. I'm just quoting 1 John 4.8, love is God, God is love. So if you are feeling that love, if you can realize a situation, you can reach a situation where you are feeling love for everyone. Somebody robs you, you feel love for that individual. Somebody hurts you, you feel love for that individual. I'm not saying that you don't take action. You do take action to stop something, but with a feeling of love. You have to stop. If you find there is a snake who is going to really bite you, then you are going to stop that snake. You may have to kill a snake also sometimes, but don't have a feeling of hatred for that. If you have reached that stage of love for one and all, you are not really different from God, because love is God. God is love. And I'm not just quoting from Vedanta, I'm quoting now from Bible itself. These are the words of Jesus, supposed to be the words of Jesus. Now somebody says 1 John is different from the John of Gospel and all that. That is something which I cannot sort it out, that researchers will try to tell you this thing, what is 1 John is the same as the John of Gospel. That I don't know. What we need to do, I just need to erase the ingrained erroneous thought that I am the body-mind complex. If you are able to really go beyond that, that is what is known as transcendence. You have become transcendental. Transcendence, you can call it, that I am not the body-mind complex, I am beyond that. That is, I'm beyond the mind. That's why you say that we transcend the mind. This is what they say when you talk about transcendental meditation, that you go beyond the mind. I mean, you can watch the mind. By the way, all of you can watch the mind. All of you can reach that stage beyond the mind. I can very quickly tell you, when you know that your mind is agitated, you know about it. And how do you know about it? Means that you must be beyond the mind. Then only you can know the mind. Because knower and known cannot be the same. The knower is a subject and known is the object. So if you are able to watch the mind, and mind is nothing but a flow of thoughts, if you can watch that mind is agitated, mind is happy, you can watch your thoughts, that means you have already gone beyond the mind. So anybody can go beyond the mind. And if you go beyond the mind, that is what is that you are in transcendental meditation. Whether your eyes are closed, our eyes are open, you can reach transcendental meditation, and everybody can reach that level, by the way. It should not be only those who are practicing it can reach. Only thing you can say, those who are practicing it, they are most of the time they can be in that area of transcendental type of meditation. Those who are not practicing, they go from time to time. You also observe your mind. And if you really learn to observe your mind, you will find your mind will become calm. All excitement will go away from mind. When you are jumping with joy or enjoyment or entertainment, your mind is jumping at that time. If you watch your mind, mind will become calm. If adverse situation happens and mind gets agitated, at that time you watch the mind, mind will become calm. Anytime when you go beyond something, you gain control over that, you gain command over that. So we have to really learn to watch the mind. This is a part of preparation which I'll talk about. Okay. Now I'll give you a glimpse about the self. A clue, you can call it a pointer about the self. And what we'll do is to give you this glimpse, who I really am. I'm trying to find out who really I am. Let's make a simple inquiry. We'll start with a very simple inquiry. Many of these things you have heard before, but it will still come across as fresh for you. Is there any entity in this universe that is changeless? Ask that question. Whatever you are seeing, by the way, is changing, constantly changing. Body is changing, mind is changing, thought comes and thought goes, body really comes and body goes. Every place the form is changing. Whatever you are looking at, a rock is also changing, a house is also changing. Anything which you really know is changing. So the question is there some entity in the universe at any level of the mind or any other level, if there is some entity which does not change, let's try to find out. There is one, by the way. There is an entity. And that is what it is. There is just one entity, the feeling I am. I exist. This feeling cannot change. Whether you are a child or a youth or a matured individual, I don't use the word old individual, matured individual, this feeling that I exist always remains with you. I am. This cannot go away. You cannot get rid of this feeling. Whether you are in New York or you are in India or you are today or tomorrow, anytime, that feeling always remains with you. That feeling remains with you. Whether you are in dream, it remains with you. Whether you are in deep sleep, still it remains with you. The feeling of I am always remains. That is a changeless. In fact, that's the only changeless entity. So this gives you some clue. Maybe I'm that. Maybe I'm that feeling I'm getting. Maybe I'm that. And I'm just telling you this thing. You don't have to believe me that you had this feeling before you were born. You will continue to have this feeling after the death. Death and birth are only related to the body. Body is born, body will die. But you will still remain. I exist will remain. It will never change. It's like a wave rises and wave goes down, but water remains. It does not change. When you say wave has taken a birth, mean that water has taken a shape. And when wave dies, you say the water's shape has gone, but water remains. And similarly, you always remain. So this is one of the clues you get, that the feeling I am, I exist. This indicates maybe I am the existence absolute. Absolute really means which does not change. It is the same all the time. Anything which you are talking about, that one is not the same. A microsecond from now, it changes. Some cell will change, some atom will change. Cell will change in the body, atom will change in some within the body itself, some atoms are changing. Because each cell of the body has got so many atoms. 100 trillion atoms are contained in one cell of the body. And those are changing in nanoseconds, in microseconds, those atoms are changing, by the way. But basically, this is what is changeless, the feeling I am, I exist. So in Sanskrit, this, what you call as absolute existence, or existence absolute, is known as Sat, means that is the truth. That is what in Sanskrit means. That is the only truth, that which does not change. Now we will ask one more question to get some further clue about ourselves. Next, we ask another question, a related question. Is there any knowledge that is first-hand? Anything which we know, if you think about it, everything has been told to you. You have a second-hand knowledge. You were really told that you are a man or a woman. You were told, by the way. Anything which you pick up, when you look at a wave, you are really, at that time, somebody told you this is a wave. Somebody told you it's a moon. Somebody or the other has told you about it. You may get some sensation in your eyes, sensation in your mind, but somebody has told you what it is. Otherwise, you have no way of knowing it. So all the knowledge which we know about, the knowledge which has come from the world, which has come from parents, from teachers, from the society, all that knowledge is really second-hand knowledge. The knowledge which is coming through scripture is also second-hand knowledge, by the way. There is only one knowledge which you really know all the time. And that knowledge is, I know I exist. So you don't really have to have a mind to know that. You always know you exist. Anything which is a living being which says I exist, living being, I'm talking about the one which has got, which we say sentient being, who know that they exist. So we are talking about, at this stage, we are really focusing on human beings. And we say this is something which you always know, that you know that you exist. So first thing, I exist, that feeling is in you, and you also know it, that feeling is in you. It's not that somebody has to tell you that you exist. You already know it. So this is the only first-hand knowledge you have got. So maybe I'm also the knowingness, which you call as consciousness absolute, or awareness absolute, or knowingness absolute. And the Sanskrit word for that one is chit, C-H-I-T. That is the Sanskrit word which really means knowingness, or means consciousness absolute. When we use the word consciousness, then we are talking about a thought, which is not the original consciousness. It is not the absolute consciousness, because that consciousness, which is at the level of the mind, which we call as thought, keeps on changing, changes very fast. You get one thought, then you get another thought. You say, I am conscious of a book now. Next moment, I am conscious of a table. That we are not talking about that consciousness. We are talking about the source of the consciousness itself. That is what they call it. All other consciousness are reflected consciousness, and there is only one consciousness which is absolute, and you are that. You are that consciousness. You are the existence. So you are existence absolute and consciousness absolute, or you are what you call a Sat-Chit. This is a very important clue you have got now. I seem to have two clear aspects: existence, consciousness, absolute, Sat-Chit. Now somebody can question this thing, how can I have two aspects? You can always have two aspects. I'll give you a simple example. For example, light has got two aspects. One is wave and another one is particle. That same light behaves as particle in photoelectric effect. When it hits a photovoltaic cell, it knocks off the outer electron from there, and which goes through a conductor and creates electricity. It behaves like a particle. A particle knocks off, that you have really hit with a particle and knocked off that electron. But when you have got two slits in a plate and you throw light on that one, and at the outside, if you have a screen on which you will see a wave pattern, interference pattern, you will see a wave pattern. So light behaves, light has two aspects. One you call as particle aspect, another is wave aspect. So I have really shown you here that you have got two aspects. One is the aspect known as existence absolute, and the second aspect is consciousness absolute. And when we combine the two, I can call it existence, consciousness absolute, Sat-Chit, you call it. That same existence is shining as knowingness. Whenever there is existence, that knowingness automatically happens. When you say, I exist, you know I exist. So it automatically happens. You don't have to really have an instrument to know it. It just happens. Okay, let's go a little bit further on this glimpse. We want to find another aspect of us. There are a few rare moments when the mind becomes completely calm and serene. And I'll give you one of the moments is you are sitting alone on a seashore watching the vast ocean. You are sitting on a beach, nobody else is there. Because else are there, your mind will get distracted by other people sitting there. But here you are sitting alone and watching the vast ocean. Your mind will become completely calm, will become serene, you will not have the feeling of dissatisfaction or unsatisfactoriness will be missing. Another moment you can say this thing, you are watching the countless stars in the night. You are, say, sleeping on your rooftop or somewhere else, and you are alone and you are just watching the stars, counting the stars, whatever you are doing, at that time your mind will be completely calm. Now, there are other moments also, by the way, where this situation happens when your desire is satisfied fully, like you are scaling a mountain, you reach the peak of the mountain, top of the mountain, acme, you reach there. At that time also, you'll really become completely calm at that time. You get a very different feeling within you. You start getting a feeling, not just the feeling of existence and I know I exist, but you get a very special type of feeling inside. And this kind of feeling you can also get in deep meditation. Not in simple meditation, in deep meditation, you get this kind of feeling. During these moments, you can say, one is free from all worries and desires. At that time, you don't have any worries. You don't feel that I lack something, or I lack something in my house, I lack something about my health. You'll forget about all those things. You will not feel that, oh, my children lack this thing. I wish my children could have gone there and here. All those will disappear completely. You scale a mountain peak, you will not be able to think of those things at all, by the way. You will not have any worries. You will feel that you are fully satisfied. You will feel you are complete. You will lose your own identity. What you lose identity means that you lose your body-mind identity, which is also known as ego. Body-mind identity is known as ego, that I am separate from others. I have a different body and I have a different mind. You will lose all that, and you will feel oneness with all your surrounding at that time. Whether you are on the top of a mountain, or you are on a beach, or you are watching countless stars, or in deep meditation. It's a very wonderful feeling. These moments provide us with another glimpse of our true nature, the nature of being limitless, nature of being complete. And there is a Sanskrit word for that one, it's known as Ananda. And many times this Sanskrit word is translated as bliss. That means you feel that you are blissful. You don't need anything. You are already complete. All your desires have been satisfied. You don't have any limits at all. Body has limit, mind has limit, but you are not body and mind, because your ego has subsided. So this is a very special feeling you get, which is known as feeling of being limitless. And actually we want to freeze this feeling, these moments. This is the ultimate pursuit of human life, a journey to eternal happiness, which you call as realization. You call it enlightenment. You call it nirvana. In Buddhism, you call it nirvana, or you call it arahat. You call it moksha. In Christianity, you can call it as salvation. This is the condition which we are really trying to reach. We can understand that we exist, and we also know that we exist. But somehow this particular feeling is extremely difficult to freeze, because this comes momentary and goes away. So we are really, when we say we are going after realization, the final frontier, this is the final frontier. To retain this feeling all the time with us, that I am limitless, I am all, I am this whole universe. That kind of feeling you have to really have within you. And this is what we are going to really try to find out and pursue this one. And that is what we call a spiritual journey, to really get to this particular feeling. And we'll have many stops in between, by the way. We'll have many milestones, you can call it, in between. And we will need help from others, like from teachers, from acharyas, we call as gurus, from prophets, the teachings of prophets, teaching of scriptures, all those we will be using on this journey. From reverence, we will need all that one. And ultimate, this is the situation. By the way, this is a situation in which you love one and all. You will not get a negative feeling for anybody under these situations. When you are calm and serene, you will never get any negative feeling. You will not get negative feeling for a person who has robbed you, who has hurt you. You will not get negative feeling. And this is what you really want to achieve. And not getting negative feeling does not mean inaction. The action will be taken by body-mind. Body-minds are trained to take action. They will take the action. but you will really remain calm while taking the action. You will not be agitated while taking the action. And now we will start the journey. Okay, let me really just conclude this one, a glimpse. This we did not conclude. In summary, I seem to have three aspects: existence absolute, consciousness absolute, limitlessness, which in Sanskrit you call it Sachidanand, Sat Chit Anand. This is what I need to absorb and feel. Now, this thing has to convert into a feeling that I am limitless. Just understanding is not enough. Understanding at the level of intellect, which is a prerequisite, by the way. You have to understand before you really go to this kind of feeling. So, but once you understand, then there is a chance that you will get that feeling. But if you don't understand, then there is no chance for getting that feeling. So let us really start the journey now. Okay, we go to the journey now. And we start with what you call as the preparation. It's a three-stage inward journey. And I'll show you what are the three stages in this one. The first stage, we call it preparing the mind and intellect. That is preparing ourselves. Making the mind calm, that is one necessary, calm, serene. Only a calm mind is capable of discovery, because you are trying to discover your own self. You have to find who you are. So you have to have calm mind. An agitated mind can never discover who one is. Then you have got additional preparation also. You have to also develop a craving for knowing the self, by the way. It is quite possible that you can reach a level where the mind becomes calm and you live a very comfortable life, that you can say life without having much stress in life, a stress-free life you can live. But if you want to really continue this journey, then you have to develop a craving to know the self, that you have to become what they call as a seeker. You have to become a seeker. Stage 2 is the one where the self-inquiry starts. But if you are not a seeker, you will not be able to start self-inquiry. And if you try to start also, it will be half-hearted type of self-inquiry. You have to really have a craving. That is a deep desire, inner desire, that I want to know who I am. So this is where the self-inquiry starts showing the results. And this uses three primary techniques in this one. We will talk about those techniques depending on the time. And each technique involves 3 steps. And we will talk about those also. The third stage or the final stage is realization, which you call as being the self, which you really call as the final frontier. And when that happens, it just happens. You really cannot say that I'll reach the goal. I am on that journey. You focus on the journey only, and a stage will come when automatically this realization happens. It's like a fruit is ripening on a tree. It will keep on ripening and ripening and ripening, and a stage will come when it will fall by itself. If it is not eaten by other birds and all that, then that will fall by itself. So we have to reach this ultimate stage of realization, which really is, you can say, the end of self-inquiry. The end of preparation is the starting of self-inquiry. That when you say the preparation ends, the inquiry starts. When inquiry ends, the realization happens, enlightenment happens. We will now review these 3 stages in some detail. Okay, let's start with the preparation, preparing the mind and intellect. This is the most arduous part or arduous stage of inward journey. First, making the mind non-reacting, and then developing deep desire for self-inquiry. And key requirements of this stage. Before I talk about key requirement of this stage, you have to know why we are doing inward journey. And I'll talk about it later on also. The reason we are doing an inward journey is because what we have done outward, we find those things sometimes are joyful, and the same thing becomes Same thing can bring sorrow also. The thing which was giving us joy can give us sorrow also. You can really try it out. You loved somebody, afterward you don't love that same person. You loved a particular house at one time, afterward you hate that particular house. So it cannot come from outside, and we will talk about it in some more details later on. But the key requirement for this stage are that first is that you should be very, very alert. This stage is a very difficult stage, very arduous journey, as they say. It is a very narrow path, and I'm quoting this from Bible, Matthew 7:13. Otherwise, one will fall into an abyss, a pit of suffering, hell. So you have to really remain on this very narrow path, by the way. This is told not only by Jesus, it is told by many others also, that you have to continue on this narrow path, but you have to be extremely alert for being on this narrow path. Then the second one is coming from Katha Upanishad, one of the part of Vedanta, and I have given a reference to that one. It is like walking on a razor's edge. That means it is not an easy path. It can really cut your feet, by the way. This is what it is. So you really need to build endurance. You need to really at that time keep on hitting your foot long enough, develop endurance so that the bottom of your foot becomes extremely hard and you can walk on a razor's edge. This is a capacity to tolerate unavoidable hardship without complaining. If you are really tolerating, that is, tolerance really means that you really tolerate it and still complain about it. When we talk about endurance, it means you tolerate but don't complain. Stephen Covey has talked about it, about 5 C's, which are like poison. And one of those 5 C's is that don't complain. He said, do not compare, do not compete, do not complain, do not criticize, and do not condemn. Those are the 5 C's coming from the 8th habit. He wrote first book for the 7 habits of highly successful people. Then he wrote another book, which he called as the 8th habit, that is going from highly success to greatness. So you have to really at that time know that you have developed that endurance. Means you will face the hardship, but you will not be complaining. There'll be heat, there'll be cold, but you will not be complaining all the time about it. You will tolerate heat, you will tolerate cold also. It doesn't mean you will not take action. You will have heating system working, you will have AC working, all those things, whatever you can get, do it. But don't keep on complaining. So this one is endurance, is the second requirement. And the third requirement is discipline, extreme discipline. That is, discipline should become effortless. Effortless effort, you are really saying, to remain on the middle path. For this, you require a lot of discipline to remain on a middle path, as they call it. This is coming from Buddha's teaching in Dhammapada. It is also known as Mahayana teaching. To avoid extreme indulgence in sensual pleasures and self-mortification. That is, you are condemning yourself. Don't do that. Don't punish yourself. And don't run after sensual pleasures. Because sensual pleasures are like a devil. Like if you remember, basically that a devil took Jesus on the top of a mountain to show all the pleasures. It is like that devil. In Buddhism, Lord Buddha calls it Mara. He uses the word for that devil. He calls it Mara, which really tempts you. It's a tempter. And you have to really avoid those temptations. And also self-mortification you have to avoid, because Buddha tried that self-mortification himself, and he found that was stopping his progress on spiritual paths. So you need 3 main requirements for this particular stage of preparation. One is that you should be very alert, you should have endurance, and you should also have discipline. Okay. Now let's talk about the preparation, making the mind calm and non-reacting. Non-reacting really means you are not really having those emotions. That you are attachment and aversion, these are the 2 emotions which one has. which really show up in different ways. When you have aversion, you hate somebody, you dislike somebody. When you have attachment, you want to be near that person all the time. You like it, then you say, I want it. So like that, it happens in that one. So how do we do that? That is first thing, you have to change your attitude. It is all at the level of mind we are doing everything. Physical actions will automatically happen. If you can change your thought, the action will follow it. That means I'm changing the attitude, I'm changing the mind towards the world itself. And what kind of change? From the attitude of taking from others to attitude of giving to others. It's a major, major change in attitude. It requires constant effort, by the way. And if you try to do that, the mind will become calm. And what do you do? By giving? Giving can be in many different ways. Like you are performing your duty. A duty is always giving. Whether it's a professional duty or family duty, you are always giving. And you can give in many other ways also. If you are, for example, if you are rich, you have got a lot of money, then help those who are poor. Give them to poor, or give to those organizations which help the poor. Either way you can do it. Because sometimes you may not be able to find individual poor people, but you know the organization which are helping the poor. So if you are rich, help the poor. If you are physically strong, help those who are weak. Like a young man can help an old person, not only to cross the road, but he may need help in the house also. So help them. It's not that the children only have to help. I'm talking about anybody who's strong should really help the weak. And if you have got knowledge, then you share that knowledge with others. So basically, you can keep on having that attitude of giving. And giving can be in many ways. A person who is not rich cannot really give money because he doesn't have money. A person who is not physically strong cannot really help a weak because he himself is weak. But if a person has knowledge, he can share that knowledge. There's nothing, he is not going to lose that knowledge, by the way. You can't say that a person, by giving money, a person has lost money. No, you have not lost anything. The money is still there. It is being used by somebody who's a needy. Similar thing is here. When you really give knowledge, you don't even lose knowledge. Knowledge still remains with you, but the other individual becomes more knowledgeable. And this one always works. Without fail, it works. It has never failed, by the way. That's why I have put it, try it. If you try it, you will find it will make the mind calm. Now, if you want to speed up this process of making the mind calm, because you may not be able to help everyone all the time, once in a while it happens, then you have to really learn to watch the mind. This, by watching the mind, that is watching the thoughts, contemplating and meditating, that is you are watching your own self. If you try to do that, this will speed up the process of making the mind calm and non-reacting. For example, if the mind is getting angry, you watch the mind, the anger will go down. Mind is getting jealous, you watch the mind, the jealousy will go down. And jealousy is something which doesn't easily leave a person. Anger can leave a person, when the situation is gone. But in the case of jealousy, if somebody is jealous of another colleague who got a promotion, that jealousy will remain with you when you are going to the bed. As soon as you get up, you will think about the same person. The jealousy will not leave you. So if you watch the mind, that mind is getting jealous. Why is it getting jealous? Ask this question. Ask the next question. By being jealous, will it solve the problem? It will not solve any problem, except that you will keep on having agitated mind all the time. You will live in agitation. That is not the way of achieving calm mind. So first thing is that change the attitude from taking from the world to giving. The second thing is start watching the mind to speed up the calming of the mind. When you are doing these, what happens is there are two key elements. These are the two key elements of what we call a yoga of action. Actually, it should be called a yoga of attitude behind the action. We call it yoga of action, but it should be yoga. Yoga really means a practice. That's what it means here. You are talking about a practice where you are changing your attitude. In fact, if I tell you this thing, that is the only thing in your hand, is to change the attitude. to change the attitude, that is where you can really reach what you call as godliness. That is all changing of attitude. In Sanskrit, it is known as having a sattvic attitude. That attitude really requires this stage of that you have to have a giving attitude all the time. You should be meditative all the time. And it's also known in Sanskrit as karma yoga. Karma really means action. Yoga is the practice, means that how to take a righteous action. Okay. All right, now developing a craving for self-inquiry. So one part we did that. We did the preparation. One needs to go one step beyond that preparation for making the mind calm. And one needs to develop that inner desire to know the self. Self-inquiry. This is an inner desire has to come for the self. And for this also there is some requirement. There is some recognition. And Reverend Manny was talking about the recognition that you have to recognize that there is a higher cosmic order. You can call it a supra-personal order. It is beyond the person. Supra-personal order, or you can call it a higher cosmic order. You can call it as a cosmic prime mover that regulates the motion of this entire cosmos. Motion of entire cosmos, which you can say is regulated by gravity. But what is the source of that gravity? That is what we are talking about, the higher cosmic intelligent order, which really regulates all the motion, regulates the motion of nebulas, of galaxies, of stars, of planets, satellites, all are being regulated. In fact, it regulates the motion in every individual body also. All the involuntary systems which are working in the body, like you say, breathing system, nervous system, blood circulation system, digestive system, all are being regulated by the same higher cosmic order. And this cosmic order, you have to understand, is not random. Some people think it is a randomly things have really arranged by itself. No, it is not random. They are the element of cosmic intelligence. So there is a universal cosmic intelligence. And that we normally say shows up as time and space. And time and space is what is known as gravity. Integrated time and space, we call it a warping of time-space, is known as gravity, which is coming from Einstein. He was able to recognize that cosmic intelligence, which is showing up as gravity. And this recognition is known as devotion. We call it Saguna Bhakti. It is known as devotion. That is, you have devotion for that higher power. And so this karma yoga and devotion prepares one for self-inquiry, which is the next stage of this journey. So we are now prepared for this journey. At least we know what preparation is needed. We have another 10 minutes or so, and we'll go as far as we can, and then we will go for guided meditation. Okay, the inquiry. Now, 3-step inquiry we are saying. Any method which we are using, we require 3 steps for making inquiry. So self-inquiry known as yoga of knowledge. This self-inquiry is known as yoga of knowledge, or jnana yoga we call it. Jnana really means knowledge. So this is the practice of understanding. Knowledge here means understanding. Involves 3 integrated steps. You call it, they are sequential practices, but they are kind of interlocked. The first practice we call it is listening or studying. In Sanskrit, it is known as Shravanam. To understand the self, the world, and the supreme self, which we call as God. Now, this understanding is very much needed, basically, because we cannot understand the self in isolation, because we are always related to this world, which we see the world, perceivable, conceivable world, and we are also related to what we call as the supreme reality, or we can call it as cosmic, supra-cosmic reality, or you can call it the cosmic intelligence. We are related to that one. So when we are trying to understand self in isolation, it will not work. We have to really also study about the world. Is it real or is it unreal? We have to start studying that. We have to also study, is there a cosmic intelligence which is regulating the world? All these have to be studied together to understand the self. And it requires a highly competent teacher for this one. A person who has really gone through it. The best teacher is the one who is already enlightened. When you say about enlightened, we know about certain prophets, but we do not know there are other enlightened individuals who are not really known to one and all. Like my own teacher, I consider him as enlightened. So this is, you require the knowledge of scriptures, plus you require an inner evolution. That person should be highly evolved individual. And this comes in one of the Vedanta, it talks about the characteristics of that kind of individual, that who is not only knowledgeable in scriptures, not only knowledgeable in philosophy, but is also internally evolved. Means he not only understand that if you love all, then you are having godliness, but that individual also is godly individual at the same time. Now, there are some people who are godly individual, but they may not have knowledge of scriptures. But it's a requirement to have godly individuals and also knowledge of scriptures, because the one who may be godly himself or herself may not be able to explain or convince others. The next stage is known as contemplating stage, or in Sanskrit it is known as mananam. It is reflecting on the knowledge which you have gained by studying or by listening, and then clarifying all doubts. You have to have what you call as doubtless knowledge. Because if the knowledge is having doubts, then it will create agitation in the mind. That means although you say that I have made my mind calm, but it will again become agitated. So developing conviction is based on logic at the intellectual level. Here you have to use your intellect. That is why human beings have got intellect, by the way, to understand, to gain this thing through contemplation. You reflect on it. You may have to get the help from others, from your colleagues, or from your reverends, or from some other priest, or some very knowledgeable teacher, which you call as guru. You may have to really get those help. But you need to clarify doubts. And these doubts are not very simple doubts, by the way. You have to constantly keep on clarifying doubts. When you clarify one doubt, there'll be another doubt coming. For example, if I say this thing that this world is a dream, then you may have another world that this dream is not same as the other dream. You may ask that question. What is the difference? One is a continuous dream, another is an intermittent dream. Why is it continuous dream? Like that, you will keep on having questions after questions. Why will continue? So you have to continue this journey of contemplating and clarifying whatever doubt appears. Then you start developing what you call as conviction. And third stage is absorbing this knowledge. And that absorbing the knowledge is known as nididhyasanam, which we will be conducting as a guided meditation today. That is absorbing the knowledge, bringing knowledge from the head to the heart. That's what it really means. That you are really, when knowledge is at the level of head, then it really becomes a part of your memory. You have to recall that knowledge. But when the knowledge reaches your level of heart, we call it, then that knowledge is with you all the time. Like I was giving you an example that you have this knowledge that I exist. It is with you all the time. You don't have to recall it. You don't say that, let me think about it, whether I exist or not. You already know it. It's a similar type of knowledge. A person who knows driving all the time. He doesn't have to really think about it, that I have to drive now, I have to use a clutch, or I have to use the steering and all that. He doesn't think. Similar thing is there if you know how to swim. You will automatically know it. So this knowledge, now this is a very advanced knowledge. This is a transcendental knowledge. Knowledge means that it is not a part of the science, it is beyond science, it is metaphysics, and that knowledge has to become part of your heart, you can say. It should remain with you all the time. That if you say this world is unreal, it should remain with you as unreal. So let's talk about these three steps first before we go further. Okay. The inquiry, the Jnana Yoga practice, what it leads to raising our level of understanding to conviction. You understand at the intellectual level. When you go to conviction, it goes to the level of the heart. That is, now you don't have any doubt about it. It is like understanding the perceivable and conceivable world is unreal. Anything which is changing is unreal, by the way. You can really say transiency is the best proof for unreality, because it is transient. It is not the same what you are telling now. The moment from that, it has already changed. So transiency is the best proof of unreality, and whatever the perceivable, conceivable universe, they are all transient. They are constantly changing. Okay. And the other thing which we have to really absorb now, which also have to first come at the level of conviction, is that clearly understand that we are existence absolute, consciousness absolute, and we are limitless. We got a glimpse of that one, by the way. Now from glimpse, we have to go to the level of conviction. Understand by different methods which one may be using to really reach that particular level. That now I am absolutely sure that I am existence absolute, that I am changeless existence. I am always conscious of it. I am always aware of it. I don't even require mind to be aware of it. I'm just aware of it. I exist and I know about it. And I am limitless. That is, I am one and all. I am happy all the time. I am freedom from all inadequacies, because all inadequacies are for body and the mind. So you have to be fully convinced. This is a very, very major step, major milestone, you can call it. The first milestone was making the mind calm and serene. That milestone can be extremely useful for living the life in this world. If you have a calm and serene mind, you can handle a lot of adverse situations calmly without getting disturbed very much. And this is another milestone where now you have got a clear understanding who you are. Do you have got understanding at the level of intellect, but you do not have this understanding at the level of feeling as yet. Now you have to really move this from intellect to feeling, or move from head to heart. Ultimately, this inquiry leads to discovery of our limitless, boundless nature. I was going to cover the techniques, but that may take some time. So what I was going to do is right now, if with your permission, I will really go to the last chart, our last two charts, and tell you about the final frontier. The techniques we are going to talk about, those techniques, I have taught some of those before also, but I want to talk some more details about those techniques. There are three techniques, and I'll quickly give you an idea about those techniques, which we'll cover next time. One technique is really known as the investigation of knowing, how knowing happens, understanding difference between known and the true knower. The second technique is known as, this establishes our knowingness nature of the self. The second technique is known as investigating the three experiences which we have every day: waking, dream, and deep sleep. Avasthatrayam, it's known as. The first one is known as Drigdrishi Viveka, which really means gaining wisdom about the absolute knower, or a witness and the witnessed. And this one is known as going through three states and try to understand what is dream, and is this waking stream also a dream or not? What is the meaning of deep sleep? And this establishes that world is unreal, and it also establishes that our nature is existence consciousness absolute. And the third technique, which I was going to talk today, is investigating various layers of our body-mind complex, which is a prerequisite for enlightenment, which establishes your nature of eternal happiness, bliss, or limitlessness. I think I'm going to really stop here, and I will go to the last two charts to give you an idea about what is. Just let's go back. Okay, I'll go to this one, realization, the final frontier. realization, the final frontier. We will talk about the other items which we had about those 3 techniques in our next session, maybe 2 or 3 months from now. This journey ends, by the way, this journey is not the journey which never ends. This journey does end with the discovery of one's true nature. Nature of what? Nature of being limitless. Everlasting happiness. That is what is known as realization. That is what is known as enlightenment. That you realize that I am limitless. I am not limited. Body is limited. Mind is limited, but I am limitless. This whole universe is in me, by the way. It is like becoming one with the entire universe. In fact, one can go a step further and say this thing. It is like as though the entire universe is in me. Everyone is in me. The richest person is also in me. The poorest person is also in me. Everything happens to be in me. All oceans are in me. So this is really, it's somewhat like, it is akin to, you can say, a river merging in the ocean, becoming one with the ocean. And I want to show you one video on this one.
Friends, in the passage that I'm about to share with you, the famous Lebanese poet Khalil Gibran shares some profound wisdom on overcoming your fears by letting go of your ego and duality and by merging and becoming one with the supreme consciousness. He wrote, "It is said that before entering the sea, a river trembles with fear. She looks back at the path she has traveled, from the peaks of the mountains, the long winding road crossing forests and villages. And in front of her, she sees an ocean so vast that to enter there seems nothing more than to disappear forever. But there is no other way. The river cannot go back. Nobody can go back. To go back is impossible in existence. The river needs to take the risk of entering the ocean, because only then will the fear disappear. Because that's where the river will know. It's not about disappearing into the ocean, but of becoming the ocean." I think this is worth repeating, because that's where the river will know. It's not about disappearing into the ocean, but of becoming the ocean. Khalil Gibran.
By the way, that's what we are trying to become. You can say we want to be. We want to be this entire universe. In fact, the universe will shine in us. That is the stage we're trying to reach. And we are trying to achieve a state where we feel one with all. This whole world is our own self. That is the ultimate stage, and that's what you have just heard about it. And that stage, the last part of that stage is saying that one really, at that time, has hesitation. That is that realization, there is a hesitation, that river trembles before entering the ocean. And then once it enters the ocean, it becomes one with the ocean. It really feels I am all. And this is what you call as love, which is also the theme of Interfaith Spiritual Community Center. That is what you really want, love for one and all. I think what we'll do is we'll have some questions, if there's any question somebody wants to ask. And if there are no questions, we'll really start the meditation. Any question? Okay, we'll continue this one more session, maybe 2 months from now or so. It depends if people are interested. I want to actually thank you, all of you, for your patience. It's a long presentation, 1 hour and 15 minutes almost. So thank you very much for remaining patient during all this time. It's not easy to keep, listening for such a long time. Normally people don't have stamina beyond some 45 minutes or so. Okay, let's do the last part of the meditation, guided meditation. And many of you already know how guided meditation is conducted, but some of you may not know about it. So basically, in that one, I'll be the only one speaking, and you will be feeling that one. Like in the beginning, Reverend Manny was speaking, and we were having that feeling in our own heart. It's a similar situation here also, that I'll be speaking and you will be feeling whatever I say. And in that one, if I say you, it means you. If I say I, it also means you. And I'll start with Om and end with Om. It may take up to 20 minutes or so, but we will still be almost within the time. Om. I offer my salutations to that supra personal order, the cosmic intelligence order that regulates the motion of this entire universe, motion of nebulas, galaxies, stars, and other heavenly bodies. The same cosmic intelligence also regulates motion within microcosm or individuals, regulates the motion of digestive system, blood circulation system, nervous system, breathing, all are regulated by this cosmic power, the cosmic prime mover. So I start by offering my salutations to that cosmic power. Next, I offer my obeisance to great Mahatmas, prophets, and teachers who have selflessly and are continuously showing us the paths to freedom, path to eternal happiness, free of all worries and desires. The only requirement is that I should surrender my ego. Specifically, I should surrender my feeling that I already know. That feeling that I already know is a major hurdle in our spiritual journey. Watch your posture and try to sit upright. This posture makes the body stable and mind calm. In fact, it synchronizes the mind with the body. Continue to remain in this posture and sport a smile on your lips. The smile brings further calmness in the mind and prepares us for meditation. deep meditation. Now, with mind calm and alert, I am in the present. And I'll make inquiry about the self by having an appointment with my own self. Having appointment with my own self is what is known as nididhyasanam, bringing the knowledge from the head to the heart. To start, I ponder on a statement from Vedanta that says, you are that. You are the source of happiness. Your true nature is peace, freedom, love. You are never away from happiness. You are never away from peace. You are never away from love. Now, this simple statement is baffling, and I don't know. I don't feel like believing. This is my nature. There is a reason. Because I feel I am limited. I lack control over many situations. I have worries, fears about the future, about my own health, about the welfare of my family members. I have financial worries, professional worries, worries about my status in the society. With all those worries, how can I be happy? So I don't feel like believing that happiness, peace, freedom, love is my true nature. Now, Vedanta says, look further into yourself and ask the question, are there moments when you did feel that happiness could be your nature? Yes, I do remember that there are some moments, some situations when I felt I was on the top of the world, when I was fully satisfied. My mind was calm. Situations like sitting alone on a beach and watching the vast ocean. Watching the starry night, looking at stars. and the moments when I have succeeded in completing a task. At that time, I did feel that I have no worries, no desires. And I am fully satisfied. There are other moments also, although not at the same level, kind of reduced happiness happens when I listen to my favorite music, wear some nice clothes, sit with my friends, those moments also I do feel happy and peaceful, and to great extent worry-free also. So what made those special moments, rare moments, to make me feel free of all worries and free of all desires, completely satisfied? If I superficially look at it, it appears that the happiness in those moments was coming from outside. Outside, like the ocean, the stars, the sunrise. But I can very quickly figure out that during that time, there was an inner change in me. That during that time, I lost my body identity, or I lost my ego. And whenever I lose my ego, I feel happy. Means the happiness is coming from within. Then what about these outside objects? These outside objects are like instruments, like triggers that make my mind to travel, to go inwards, put my mind on inward journey, also known as spiritual journey. As the mind goes inward and continues on this inward path, if that movement lasts for a while, then it merges with my true self, with my true nature. The mind and ego are no more. And the self shines, wails out like a fountain. I forget about all worries. I go into a state of inner happiness. In fact, you can say, I'm kind of experiencing my own self. So whenever I am happy, I am experiencing my own self. Whenever I am peaceful, I am experiencing my own self. Whenever I see beauty, like in a rose, I am actually experiencing my own self. Whenever I feel love, even for those who have hurt me, I can't find any shred of hatred in me or jealousy in me. I'm actually experiencing my own self. Whenever I feel free, unbound, I'm experiencing my own self. So this understanding tells me that for being happy, I don't need any external situation. Because I am already happy, which is my true nature. I just at that time, I am aware of my existence only. I am and I'm aware of I am. I am completely satisfied whenever I am aware of I am alone. But unfortunately, when I attach anything to I am, then that feeling changes into being limited, being incomplete. I am a man makes me incomplete because I focus on the man. I'm a woman makes me incomplete. I'm a father makes me incomplete. I'm a mother makes me incomplete. Even if I say I'm right, it makes me incomplete. I'm wrong makes me incomplete. So this understanding, to bring it to the level of heart, is not to add anything to I am. I am, in Sanskrit language, when translated, is aham asmi. I am aham asmi. I remain as I am. Like at this moment, I just am. I just exist. And I'm aware of it. I am is being, just being, shining as knowing. This is the final frontier, our realization. Om. Now you can slowly open your eyes. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Arun Bhai.
Thank you.
Can't see me there.
Thank you, Arun. Bye.
Thank you so much, Arun.
Thank you.
Ramji.
Thank you. Thank you for the knowledge. Thank you for the meditation. And soon again, we thank you. We appreciate you.
I think we can have another sessions about 3 months from now.
Okay,
If
you bet.
everyone is willing.
Yes,
For certain.
yes.
All right, and I'll send you the information. Sandy, I'll send you information about, I'll send it to Reverend Manning.
Okay,
Thank
And-
you.
that works.
Information about the other session, Saturday session.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Sandy says she can't wait for the next session. Thank you all. Appreciate having you here and listen to Mr. Sehra. We appreciate him. And thank you. And have a good Sunday. Take care, please.
Thanks, Reverend Manning.
Thanks. Blessings to all.